The Batteries Included podcast is brought to you with United Chargers and their Grizzly range. The next generation of Grizzly is here. Meet the Grizzly Ultimate, the most powerful AC Level 2 charger for home use. With a maximum current of 80 amps, that's 19.2 kilowatts. Your vehicle could be charged up to twice as fast as a standard Level 2 and up to 15 times faster than a Level 1. And of course, it's Wi-Fi connected, so you can take control of your home charging, view stats, set a charging schedule, take part in demand response programs, and control your charger remotely. And that joins the lineup alongside the original Grizzly Classic. The Grizzly Duo, designed to charge two vehicles at the same time. The Grizzly Mini, a portable charging station. And the Grizzly Smart, a revolutionary smart EV charger. Those chargers can adjust the current from 16 amps up to 40 amps, that's 9.6 kilowatts. Plus, the Grizzly Ranger IP67 rated, built in Canada, and with the highest quality materials. You can order yours right now. Go to unitedchargers.com, that's unitedchargers.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. It's Friday, December the 6th, 2024, and this is episode number 66. On today's show, we'll be talking about Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares resigning from the 14 brand conglomerate, Nissan gaining access to the Tesla supercharger network, and hopefully the breaking of the electric Cannonball record, and of course, much, much more. I'm Dominic Ionni, and joining us today is the chivalric Mr. Tom Moloughney, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. And we are also happy to be joined by Lacey, host of Miss GoElectric, Miss GoElectric Ride Reviews, and Miss GoElectric Industry YouTube channels, a whole plethora of shows, channels over there. All right, and I believe Kyle Connor should join us from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Autospec Studios, where he produces high voltage videos for a number of YouTube channels. Hopefully that will happen. He's at a meeting right now, but we have some stuff we want to talk about. And yeah, so welcome everybody. Great to see you.
Good morning.
Hello,
Thanks
everybody out there in the audience.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us this morning, Lacey. I guess let's kick it off with you. Let's see. What is going on in the Miss GoElectric garage? Really, it's been a while since you've been on. And so I think there's been some changes in your garage. So yeah, it's a bunch of developments. So maybe let's start with two wheels.
Yeah, I think most of it is a two-wheel conversation or maybe three wheels, because I actually recently got my motorcycle endorsement. So I took my course and everything like that, and I passed. I got my endorsement. So now in the summertime, now it's winter here in Michigan. It's actually snowing right now, unfortunately. So my bike's in storage, but I bought a Zero DSRX for my motorcycle, and I've been really loving that. It gets anywhere between 100 and 200 miles of range, depending on how fast you're going, but I'm like a putzer, so I just go on all the slow, curvy roads and everything like that. So I've been really enjoying riding a motorcycle. And I think it's like the perfect time in my life to do that. I'm glad I didn't get my endorsement when I was younger, to be honest, because I feel like the responsibility is important to have at this, stage in my life, and to understand the gravity of owning and operating one of those. So that's been like my treat over the summertime, is whenever I have time, I'll go out and ride. And Tim, who is my producer on my channel, he bought a BMW CEO4, so we've just been riding all over the place wherever we go. So yeah, it's been super fun.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah, and then recently,
I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
I was just going to ask the DSRX. What kind of bike is that? Just for the audience.
It's kind of like an adventure style bike. So it's the top of the line Zero motorcycle that they offer. I wanted something. Once I got my endorsement, I was reviewing a Rivet Anthem, which I loved. If you guys haven't heard of that, it's like more smaller style entry level motorcycle, and that got somewhere around like 75 miles of range. But one of the big things about it is that the voltage, there'd be a lot of voltage sag at the end of the state of charge, probably around like maybe, if I was at 30% state of charge, there would be a lot less performance than I was expecting. And I live in an area in particular, which is all 55 mile per hour to get anywhere. So I have to go fast in order to get where I want to go. And it's really designed to be an urban commuter. So it's perfect for cities because you can really extend that range going slower speeds all over the place. So it's such a great bike. I loved it. But for me, where I live right now, I needed something that had a little bit more range to it. So I went full out, got the like huge biggest bike that they offer at zero, and like maxed out the range that you could possibly pretty much get on an electric motorcycle that's available. So probably not very bright of me because it's 550 pounds, so it's super heavy. And although I'm like tall and the bike fits me really well and it's super comfortable, it's like I need to build up some more strength in my legs to make sure I'm managing the weight properly. But yeah, so
Right.
I really love that bike.
No skipping leg day with that thing.
Exactly.
Gary Bushy asked, do zero motorcycles have to make a noise so people know they're there?
It's a very unnoticeable, like you can barely even hear it. But there is a sound at lower speeds, but
Okay.
not at higher speeds. And to be
And it's-
fair, like a lot of people with electric motorcycles, I think there's a lot of like misconceptions around them because for most people they only want to ride for maybe a couple hours anyways. So like the range limitations aren't exactly, unless you're like me where you live in an area where you have to go high speeds to get anywhere, or you're on a highway or whatever and you're commuting longer distances. I think it would fit a lot of people's lifestyles to go electric. But yeah, the bike in itself is more than what I've ever used. So I'm only riding a couple hours at a time because that's all my body wants to do, sitting upright in that position anyway. So
Right.
it's been really nice.
This week we had Forrest North from Tello Trucks on the show. We did a
Oh, yeah.
special interview with Tom, and I don't know if you know him, but he started Mission Motors originally.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember Mission Motors. It was
don't
like
think
the
so.
first big electric motorcycle that was like sport bike that was really kind of fast. Steve Rapp set a lap record at Laguna Seca, I think like in
wow.
2011 or 2012.
Cool.
Like a minute 30, minute 29, something like, or minute 34, somewhere in that area. Anyway, but it was like the fastest electric record for until just recently, until a few years ago, it was finally broken. So that was like a heck of a bike. Anyway, I say all that to just say that he mentioned, we were talking about, trying to, the challenge of putting a lot of batteries in a bike, to extend
Yeah.
range because everybody wants range. But he was saying that, in reality, 150 miles on a bike is it's a lot for a lot of people, I mean,
Yes.
people do drive, of course, much farther than that, but yeah, 150 miles is really
Yeah, and
plenty for a lot of people.
Tim's CEO4 gets maybe like 80 miles of range, but it's actually using the iX battery. So his actually doesn't have it didn't have the same problem as the Rivet because it was a different voltage. They're like higher voltage, more automotive grade for the
Right.
BMW. So he can go like for as long as I want to go pretty much when we're riding together. So it's not even an issue at all, even on his bike. And of course you can find a plug pretty much anywhere when you stop and go, have food or a coffee or wherever you want to go. So, and they charge so fast because the batteries are small. So it's like,
Right.
it's really not a problem in that regard.
So what else you got going on in the garage?
So recently I published a couple videos on my ride reviews channel, which is mostly for two-wheel or three-wheel scooters, bikes, things of that nature that are all electric. And I posted a video about the semi-trike, and this was very interesting. So for those of you that aren't familiar, but downtown Detroit, they recently redid the train station that we had there. It's a very iconic building, and it got completely revamped by Ford. They spent billions of dollars to redo it, and so it's been like a huge project that's been ongoing for years, and it's open now. And the building right next to it is kind of part of that effort. It's called the New Lab building, and the New Lab building is this company. New Lab is like an incubation hub for innovators to like companies that want to start but have a hard time dropping a bunch of money for some of the manufacturing that's needed or prototyping and things like that to get their foot off the ground. So they pay this membership to New Lab in order to use shared resources like manufacturing equipment, prototyping equipment. And then you also have all these like brilliant minds that are trying to work on all these projects together, so you can kind of bounce ideas off of other companies that are in there. And we went over there because there's a couple companies based out of there that we had done some videos with before, because New Lab also has a building in New York, in Brooklyn. So the video you see here is Zach. He is the founder of Civilized Cycles, and he started his company with a consumer bike, which I've done a review on. It's called the Model 1. It's a very interesting cargo bike, but really designed. He used to own in Manhattan the Vespa store back in the day, and then he sold that and started his own e-bike company. And he's still doing e-bikes. He's still selling the Civilized Cycle Model 1, but now he's working on this project where it's a trike, and the trike can carry a trailer. So that's why it's called the semi-trike, because it's using a lot of components that you would find in like a semi-truck, like when you think of like a suspension and stuff like that, and it can haul this trailer, and the trailer can be designed to function for a lot of different purposes, but the way it's outfit, how you just saw it, was it has racks on it because they are working on a pilot program with Lime scooters, and instead of having Lime drive around these big trucks with trailers, they can actually take this trike and go pretty much anywhere they want to, because anywhere you can take a regular bicycle, for the most part, you can take a product like this because it's considered a trike or a bike. And so it's made with a lot of those components that merge with an e-bike, but also at the same time with the suspension, because if you have a heavy load on the back, then you need to be able to compensate for a lot of that weight that's getting put on the back of a trailer. And so Lime can go and redistribute the scooters and everything throughout the town in a more efficient manner. It's cheaper to operate, and as you can see in those pictures, they have the ability to hold all the batteries and swap out the batteries and charge the batteries on the device itself. And you don't need, like any other e-bike, you don't need any kind of like a registration, or I mean, it's probably a good idea to get insurance if you're having other people operate your bike and stuff like that, or just for your drivers. But yeah, it's a very interesting concept. And I think it can apply in a lot of different ways to help companies out, or even, you know, Zach was saying they want to put them on school campuses to move things around or get things done. If you think of like maintenance that needs to be done or moving things around. I know you're outside, so it's probably nice to have it in a place like in California or Florida or something along those lines. But it's just such a, I love to see innovation like this, and like doing something different is very exciting to me. So it was really fun riding this thing around and going all over the place. And I was surprised actually how maneuverable it was too, for looking to be like kind of a wide vehicle.
It's funny. It's funny. I was watching this video a little bit last night, and I was thinking, man, I don't know if I'd really want to. I couldn't envision it on the road, but then you took it on the road, and then I'm like, okay, actually, that it kind of works, you know, as long as you're in like a somewhere where the speed limit is kind of low, because it's only goes 15 miles an hour.
Yes.
So,
and you can ride it on the street in bike lanes and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of the idea, especially for, you know, in city atmospheres for delivery. You know, you have some cities are saying, we don't want big trucks in the city anymore. So you need to figure out how to deliver. And see, I do a U-turn there, which is crazy to think that you can do a U-turn in this thing, but it is possible. But to have a smaller footprint and be able to get the job done in a city type environment, and you have no emissions, of course, it's a good option.
And that's the Ford building there in the background, right?
Yes.
That was a moment ago.
That's the train station there that I was talking about. So yeah.
Right. It's cool.
Yep.
I don't know. Hey, Kyle. Anyone have any cycle trike questions?
It's a weird thing.
Well,
Yeah.
Cool.
I wasn't here for the full thing, but man, that thing looks freaking awesome. I'd love to drive that around. There's so many use cases for a trailer like that could be completely modular. It's really, really nice.
Yep.
I like that campus idea too. That was also I was like, oh, of course. Or Army base also, you know? Like,
I mean, if you just think like there's got to be deliveries in a lot of different places that you can't fit a car, or it just doesn't make sense to spend the money. Like that stuff is expensive for a company to, you know, make the effort to get things where they need to go. And this is such a much more affordable option for people in so many regards. And I think there's a lot of use cases for it, like you're saying.
Is
Mark
there a way
Norman
to
in the
get that front wheel more compacted in? Is there a reason why it's so far out in front?
Yes. So the way that the bike is built, in order to accommodate any rider, the structure of the frame has this system where there are pegs along the bottom of the frame so that you can move the pedals in or out. And then the same goes with you can see if you pause right there, see where my feet are with you can move the pedals back and forth right there. And then also you can do the same for the handlebars. So this is designed really to be able to, for like a traditional e-bike, you would just move the seat up and down. But in this case, they knew that they would probably have a lot of different types of riders that they would need to accommodate. So they made it so that the front structure, that handlebar system, can move back like towards the rider or away from the rider, depending on how tall you are, and same with the pedal system. And then it's weird, but in this video, it also, the trike, when it doesn't have the trailer attached, can be propped up right. So Zach shows in the video that you can basically push down on the back two wheels and lift up the front part in order to stack it in a warehouse upright instead of having it take so much space for the footprint there. And he wanted all the adjustments to come from the front of the bike to make it the best fit in comparison to doing anything with the back that would maybe interfere with the trailer dynamics.
Cool.
And I suppose because it's like it's an e-bike, you know, well, it's a trike, it doesn't require like registration. It would be street legal pretty much anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's going to save companies a lot of money. So you naturally will think, oh yeah, of course, delivery companies like an Amazon. And we've seen in the past a lot of stories about like UPS trying to integrate e-bikes to do deliveries in cities, and Amazon and a lot of these companies. But sometimes they have really big deliveries, so they need the accommodation for heavier weight and a lot more packages. And Civilized Cycle is also developing trailers that, you know, they'll have refrigeration, or they're enclosed. You can even enclose the front part over the driver to some extent. So there's a lot of flexibility on that side of things too. But I just think it's such a weird thing, but I love it so much. And riding it, I was just so surprised how maneuverable it was. It doesn't look like it would be at all. And even putting the like scooters on the back, the suspension system is incredible. It adjusts so that it's level and supporting the weight properly. And then, you know, you get a little suspension in the rider's seat as well, because the tires are a little bit more fatter, cushier tires anyways. So yeah, and it's a 2-speed. So if you're climbing hills and stuff like that, you can, you know, change.
That's right. It's kind of weird, I guess transmission, sort of like a little lever on the side of it that changes the gears. It's kind of bizarre, right?
Yes.
I guess it's like a different chain set. Does it? I don't know if it's. Is it run on a chain?
Yes, it's all on a chain. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's very, very weird. Also, another thing that's kind of interesting, I did another video recently because those guys at New Lab, I did a couple partnerships doing some videos. I had done another interview in the New York New Lab with a guy that was running an e-bike company at the time, and now he started a company trying to bring manufacturing of e-bikes to the U.S. market, and that was for Velo bikes. But now this guy is running a company called Bloom, and it's 2 e-bike co-founders that are trying to bring that manufacturing and distribution, and they're helping them, people who want to launch a company in e-mobility, micro-mobility there. And they introduced me to this guy, Sam, who's running its same New Lab membership he has is for grounded RVs. So this is an electric camper van.
Right.
That,
so I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, it's based on the Bright Drop, and it's funny because just yesterday or 2 days ago, since they're all in New Lab, they announced that Grounded RV is going to make a trailer upfitting for the semi-trike. So they put a picture on that on their, I think, Instagram or something like that. But yeah, that's Sam there. We did a full walkthrough of the Grounded RV, and eventually we're going to take it out for a trip, but it's pretty cool, and I think they're doing a pretty great job of upfitting a camper van, because there are a couple companies doing it, and it is expensive, but if you think about the alternative of having a car and a trailer, it's actually competitive in price considering that.
Okay.
But they're $195, and basically Sam says you basically can outfit it however you want, custom fit and everything like that.
Like $195,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, so this is interesting because there's not a whole lot of out there in the way of like RVs. We saw those trailers like with the integrated powertrains last year or this year, and so that's pretty cool. But this is like more of a motorhome, I guess.
Yes, a camper van. So it's all in one. It's like Class B instead of having a travel trailer, or it's all integrated because it's a Bright Drop. So it's a based on a GM. Or now Chevy, I guess, is their Chevy Bright Drop, since it's gone under that brand.
Right.
But it is a commercial delivery van.
So hopefully we'll see it what the inside. I guess people can go check that out.
Yeah.
195,000, and this is the long version of that van.
Yes. So they make two versions: a 20-inch or a 20-foot and a 24-foot van, because that's what the Zevos are. They're either the 600 or the 800. So, and right. I actually, it makes perfect sense to make this. There's so much storage in this thing just in the front. So it just makes a lot of sense. I mean, it is, 270 miles of range is what it's EPA rated. So depending on where you're going, Sam says that the weight that they've added for their upfitting doesn't really affect the range, and that they're still, depending on how fast they're going, getting 270 to 300 sometimes for the range, and it has 120 kilowatt charging speeds, and they're going to be delivering the NACS adapter to their customers that buy now that it's available for them.
So I thought it was available only for the non-commercial GM vehicles. Like, I didn't know you could charge a Bright Drop at a supercharger.
Yeah, well, that's what he told me. So
I believe
that's cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm trying to remember. I remember
he works like super closely with the GM on this, obviously, because when they originally launched, they were using a Ford Transit, and he knew that wasn't a lot of range. It's like 100 and some odd miles of range that they were getting out of it, and he was like, I know it's not a lot, but I just need to do this. I need to just get a product out there. So he knew that the market, he's not specific to using one platform when new stuff comes out, or he's explored like going with the Rivian van. But again, the best range is the Bright Drop that's available in the market right now. And they just buy through their fleet account and work with the GM team very closely. He said they have a really good relationship. So they're giving a lot of feedback and making iterations based on their experience with the product and the customers that they have so far. I think they've said they delivered like 12 or 15 of them
the shipping
thus far. Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh.
They have some out.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's
and
pretty good.
And they custom build them. So basically whatever layout you see here, maybe that's not what you want, but you can like switch out any of these modular pieces to really make it what you want it to be.
This is so cool because I own a Class B van.
Yeah, your Sprinter, right?
My Sprinter, yeah, which is like less range than this thing has, and is super frustrating. I don't really use it. I'm actually in the process of trying to sell the Sprinter because we just get no use out of it. Partially because we can't take it anywhere and make videos. No one wants to watch a diesel van going around, and we don't really have too much time to use it for ourselves. But something like this could be cool. And Dominic, you mentioned the price. Like, it's not coming from a mass manufacturer that's known for like having a built-out service network. Like, I can bring my Winnebago Sprinter to any Winnebago service center or any Mercedes service center. So, okay, maybe that's a little bit concerning, but this is $50,000 less MSRP than mine, which is a very popular, upfit for sprinters. So I think
Wow.
the Revels are now like 240, 250, and there's always huge discounts on them. So very rarely are you paying that. And also keep in mind, a lot of people finance RVs for 10 years or more. It's a totally different financing structure than a traditional car loan. And so it does make them more affordable on the monthly. But of course, the resale on something like this, I think, is going to be the hard part. This is something you're going to have to get and hold on to. I don't think this is going to be a buy and play around with it and flip it when you're done. But damn, what a concept. Finally, electric Class B vans. I will bookmark this video and watch it immediately.
It's pretty awesome. And I will say, I know you're saying about the dealer thing and that's kind of an advantage with the Sprinter and stuff, but they actually are allowed to go to any of the Chevy dealerships now that BrightDrop is under the Chevy umbrella to get service. So that's why Sam was like, it's also a great benefit for us. We're not really trying to build a powertrain. We don't want to build a powertrain. We want to upfit these existing electric architectures because they'll already have that service and warranty stuff figured out on that side of things. So, and what you're seeing on the screen coming up here is the app. So it's just a lot of smart thinking as far as making everything integrate together. So they have developed, Sam actually came from, he's had a lot of working experience in his career, but and that's a Starlink. So Starlink is actually where he came from. He was doing a lot of the software for SpaceX on the Starlink. And so it was really important for him to make something that everything integrated together. So it has not only the solar, it has a heat pump for all the cabin heating in the back. It has the internet controls and everything. And the app will allow you to remotely control and turn on and off certain features like the hot water if you're like out on a hike and then you want to get it, heated up while you're on your way back. You can do that. You can adjust the temperature all from the app. Same concept, and control all of those features. You'll be able to get information about your tanks, like the water levels and stuff like that. So it's pretty amazing how integrated. That was like one of the big things for me that I thought was impressive, is to be able to integrate all of those bits of technology together in an app form. Because like nowadays, that's what people want. They want to have that same experience that they're getting on their phone that's intuitive, but also have that information. Like, we're living in 2024 here. It's like about time that people start to make it more user-friendly for us to manage all these systems together. And he was a camper van guy. During the pandemic, he bought a camper van and was driving all over the place. So he fell in love with the idea of creating a company that would focus on having an electric architecture and then upfitting with this modular system. So, because DIY van life, everyone wants to have their own way of setting up their van, and to have a lot of different options and customization for it is, a big deal.
Right. So it kind of puts a lot of the price into perspective, like with the app, and then the ability to change the configuration of the interior like that. So 195, like Kyle's saying, is actually pretty decent, right?
It's when you think about like the competitive set, it's not bad at all. Like,
wow.
It's,
it's a lot of money
for you to
be
able to literally customize everything is such a big deal. He was like, even if you want to change right now they're doing a 10 kilowatt house battery, but if you want to do something different, like bigger or whatever, you can make customizations to pretty much anything in this thing, which I think is really cool, all for that price.
Do you think there's a future where they can somehow, if they're working with GM on this, get access to the high voltage battery pack and either through an inverter?
Yes, so he did. He said that's one of the biggest things that they want to do and that they're working with GM on, is not only to have, it's only sensible that it's the most efficient path is to extract from the high voltage battery in this case. So they've been working on that and talking about that. But also then to be able to relay a lot of the information from the high voltage battery pack in their app. So there's a lot that they want to integrate more into the product like this. So I think it's beneficial not only for GM to have someone working on a project like this to help them make their product better, but then also it's beneficial for Sam because he can get more of these G2s out.
Those windows look pretty trick.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same windows I have in my Sprinter, actually. They're the identical ones. Yeah, it looks like home already. I really didn't know this was a thing. I got to go get one of these and at least play around with one. I think I would wait personally until it's like fully integrated, because I think one of my main issues with my Sprinter, and when I went through the shopping process, 2 or 3 years ago to get that, was just the hodgepodge nature of everything. It's like, this comes from this supplier, that's from that supplier. And I can see the path they're going on here, which is to like, okay, let's vertically integrate all of this. And that's so exciting. And so I think like give them another year and have this thing like integrated perfectly. And then, this is built for me. That's so exciting.
I know, it's really cool. I loved it. I was like, this is pretty neat. But yeah, who knows if I'll get one. I got too many things that I want.
You got so many cool cars already.
Yeah,
so you didn't mention it yet, but you also have a Cybertruck too, right?
Yeah. My daily driver is the Rivian R1T. But Tim got his Cybertruck in March, end of March, I think. So we take that a lot of places just because now it has FSD. So we've been wanting to see the integration of that technology and how well it performs and everything. And we've been really impressed with it. So we've been taking that more than we have been taking around my truck, and then we have the Model S still. We just can't part with it. It's a unicorn, so it's a 2016 with a new facelift, and it has unlimited supercharging.
Oh.
And Tesla wants to pay like maybe 15 for it, and it has close to 100,000 miles on it, but it's like, why would we sell it for if they want to, you could sell it more for a private party, but it's like, get rid of it. Why?
You could drive that thing across the country for free, basically, right?
We used to. Yeah, that was what we did before we got our trucks. We would take that literally everywhere. We've been to Rocky Mountain. We've gone cross coast multiple times and down into Florida and stuff like that in that car. So it was very good to us.
So how are you liking Cybertruck life, real quick?
I know a lot of people hate the way it looks and everything, but I'm just glad that it exists. It's not my cup of tea as far as design, obviously, because I have the Rivian and I like that. But I'm so glad it exists. And I think a lot of people misunderstand a lot of the things that are going on with the Cybertruck. The idea of the way that it's shaped and the materials that it's made out of, I don't think people appreciate as much of what the background of that is, and in coordination with SpaceX to get that material stamped out in volume so that they can use it for Starship. And then the rear steering is a big deal. Of course, other vehicles have it, but the steer-by-wire, it makes such a big difference in driving it. If I haven't driven it in a while and I'm driving my Rivian, it feels like I'm almost like a clown car exaggerating my because with the Cybertruck, all you have to do is this, and that's it. Right. So, and it's funny because when we first got it and Tim was sitting in the driver's seat, I just looked over at him from the passenger seat. And the steering wheel itself looks comically small, but the truck is so huge. So it's just I don't know, it's a caricature to some extent, and but it's an amazing marvel as far as the technology that's integrated with it. And now that it has FSD, it's not perfect by any means, but it's pretty impressive what it can do driving on its own. So I think, even considering that, we would take my truck a lot of places, has a lot of storage and everything like that. With the FSD, it kind of makes sense to take that on trips now a lot more, just because of the FSD. Yeah.
Hey Kyle, did you got FSD in yours too, Kyle, right? Have you done the hardback challenge with it yet?
No, actually, we've had so many test cars in, but I think next week's hogback week for the Teslas, we were supposed to run Jordan. So I've been driving actually the base Model 3 the last couple days that we got for Jordan, and that has FSD on it, and it's way better than even the FSD on the Cybertruck, which is very impressive. And so it's interesting to see different versions. Cybertruck's still on 12.5.5, and the Jordan's car's on 12.5.6, and then some of the influencers with their Model Y hardware 4 already on 13. And I got to tell you, the Cybertruck it's pretty cool, but the system kind of bugs me sometimes. Driving in Jordan's car on 12.56 has been mind-blowing with the FSD stuff. I mean, absolutely so impressive. And that's not to say it's perfect. It literally drove over, it consistently drives over the same curb. So I went back and tried it again, and it still drove over that same curb in that same scenario. But other than that one thing, this new hurry mode, like it gets the speed on when you're on roads. It's like passing people on the right. It's weaving. It's getting me where I need to go. I'm like, oh gosh, this is awesome. And last night it's been so fascinating because I've always kind of been an FSD. I don't want to say hater, but I've just never been sold on it. I've always said like, okay, I'm quicker and I'm not annoying people if I drive myself. But it's gotten to the point where we went to dinner last night and I'm like, we have all the cars in the lot. I'm like, I want to take the one with FSD. And then I didn't really know where the restaurant was. I just put you can like make the map go away and go full screen FSD view. And I just let it drive us around. I was like, it'll get us there. And it did its thing and it was perfect. And it was great. It was so good. It was so relaxing. And that was the first like light bulb moment for me. It's like, we're going to a place I don't really know how to get to, and I'm not even paying attention. I mean, I'm paying attention to the road, of course, if we're take over, but not to the direction.
You got to watch out for those curbs, for one.
It does respond like more like how I would drive. That's what's crazy about it, is that the speed to how it reacts to things is like pretty impressive, and that it can see everything. And of course, like on that view that you put on the screen, Kyle, you can see exactly what it sees. So it's also just really impressive to see how many of those things, whether it's cars or bikes or people, it can really absorb as far as visually. But also, I think the only times that we've like canceled it is because we're nervous, but I'm pretty confident it would still, like, it's still just like a mind block of like, oh, should I let it do this? I don't know, I'm kind of nervous. But so far we're like relinquishing more control to it, and it's been very surprising how well it's performed. I agree.
My biggest issue, and like when I take over, is when I have to pull out into traffic, because sometimes it will pull out to C and then it goes out with a little bit too much speed, and like oncoming might think that you're going, and I might think that we're going, so I grab the brakes there. And sometimes if it like has to go and then a car is coming, it'll slam the brakes occasionally if there's like a car coming that it didn't expect, and the person behind you like is not ready for that type of movement. So I still think that needs a little bit of tuning. But when it's just moderate traffic or even four-way stops, we have a lot of like four-way stops around where I live. It does a great job of like waiting for whoever needs to go and then going. I'm like, how do you know when it's your turn? But it does it perfectly. It's so mind-blowingly good now.
Yeah, I noticed that. I put out a video recently with the Cybertruck when it got the FSD, and that's still the 12.5.5, I think. And I was surprised at how much better it was at feeling like a human was driving. I hadn't driven with an FSD in a while, maybe a year. And my previous experiences were like, this is nowhere near where I'm comfortable driving in this. It's cool. It's fantastic that they're doing this, but I wouldn't use it. I would drive myself. But now it's starting to feel like a human is driving more. It was very robotic before, it seemed like to me. And the only thing that I experienced was kind of like what Kyle mentioned about it being choppy, look, it feels like it's going to go, then it stopped. And a couple stop signs that we went to, which really surprised me, because you could see the stop signs. They weren't obstructed. The vehicle knew there was a stop sign far ahead, but it kind of went fast up to it, and then it nailed the brakes, and the whole vehicle's rocking back and forth. So that I'm surprised that wasn't smoother, because that should be the simplest thing to do. I could see if like the stop sign was blocked by trees or something, I didn't know it was there, but it did that a few times. And then also the one time it turned left across 2 lanes to make a highway ramp exit, which, and I laughed about this when I did the video, because I would do that, if no one was coming, and just cross 2 lanes. And but I don't think that's something that it should do, because it's definitely not a proper maneuver. But then I laughed at myself, because I said, I've been asking for this to act more human all this time. And this is something that a human would do. Oh, shoot, there's my exit, slam on the brakes, and then cross 2 lanes and go across. So, I was like, well, I almost can't criticize it there because I've been saying act like a human. But that's the one thing I came away with. It actually, they're really smoothing out things and making the vehicles react and feel like a human's driving, whereas before it was always really robotic. It executed turns, it executed maneuvers, but if my eyes were closed, I would say a human's not driving. This is the car's doing it. But now I couldn't tell. If my eyes were closed, I wouldn't know if a human did it or if the FSD did it. So I'm super impressed with it. I'm still not. I've maintained all along, I would not get a car or pay for this until I can get in and just close my eyes and go to sleep. That's full self-driving to me. I still would not pay for it. Even at this point, if I bought a new Tesla today, I would not buy FSD. But
interesting. I think it's reached the point where it's now worth the money. I don't think you should go into it saying, okay, FSD. I've never been a fan of that marketing, whatever, the naming convention.
Right.
But I think it's actually worth the money now because it is a huge benefit. And I think from my point of view, like we've always gone evaluating FSD to say, here's kind of where everything goes wrong. These are all the problems with it. And we don't really celebrate how good it's actually gotten. And this new update, I'm just like, you know what? It's finally like more times correct than it is incorrect. And it's awesome.
And the price is a lot less than it was at some point. So that kind of helps that equation a little bit.
Yeah. Amico asked, would you pay $100 a month, Tom? Not if the vehicle came with, already had cruise control, the smart cruise control. That's all I would want to use it for. I wouldn't set my destination and let it make turns and everything for me personally. I'm happy with like a Super Cruise or a Blue Cruise type of driver assistance right now, until I can just get in the car and say, take me here, and completely not pay attention. That's what I want. And I know it's a high bar, but hey, that's why, everybody gets to choose what they want. I'm glad Tesla's doing this. I'm super glad Tesla's doing this because they're dragging the rest of the industry, and they're forcing
in a lot of ways.
They're forcing
but
the
are
other
they though?
companies
Because
to do-
we've never seen a competitor system even come close to what this thing can do now.
I know, but because they're being super cautious and not releasing stuff until it's completely ready. But that doesn't mean, Kyle, they're not pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into trying to improve their systems, because they know if they're not right behind Tesla, like when Tesla achieves this, and you can literally get in the car and say, take me here, and then just take a nap. And the other companies are years behind, they're screwed. They have to be like a year out, you know what I mean? Or so they have to stay on top of it and pour. And they're pouring tons of money into this. They're just not going to release it. They're not.
I have not seen any evidence of like automakers really coming close to what this is. You see some of their like cruise programs with GM with all the freaking sensors all over them, and Waymo's very impressive. And I've experienced Waymo. I've never ridden a cruise, but I've done the Waymo thing. That's really cool. And it works really well in their areas. But I don't think I've ever seen or heard mention of, even in like a lot of the presentations I sit in on future product, of like roadmaps of them doing anything beyond highway ADAS.
Right.
Yeah, because everyone is operating as a geo-fenced system, not like a neural network, what Tesla is doing. Tesla wants this system to work on every single road, no matter what. And they see that if your vehicle can drive, this is a true value proposition because it's not restricted onto the areas that it can go. Whereas Waymo and Cruise are geofenced. So if you're even looking at those systems, and I've ridden in both of them, Cruise, before they had to shut it down, it was like comical how bad the experience was when I rode in it. In Waymo, every time I've taken them, I just took it recently as well in Phoenix when I went down there for the NASCAR event. And I've taken it multiple times, and it's like I would literally feel comfortable sleeping in the back of a Waymo and letting it take me wherever. I'm so confident in that system, and I think it's amazing. And I think there's room for both systems, to be honest, but no one really is, as far as on the automaker side, they're not really doing the neural net type of technology. They're sticking with what suppliers are providing them with, which is probably, to be honest, more affordable for them. And you can let companies like Mobileye take a lot of control in developing a system that can work in more places. And I think we're starting to see that inch closer with the technology that they're coming out with. But ultimately, like, if you're geofencing, you're not going to have the reach that Tesla does. But I still think that both can exist in the world and they can be competitive, because I've seen what Waymo can do. And in city situations, it's like incredible. I think it's like a perfect use case.
Right. All right. Well, thanks for that. That's pretty cool discussion on
Tangent.
autonomy. So I just want to say, hey, Kyle, it's been a few weeks since you've been on. So welcome. And also, Out of Spec held a huge cross-country EV race recently, driving 3,000 miles from Seattle to Boston, the I-90 surge, and it's all documented on Out of Spec Motoring. People can check out 3 or 4 episodes, like a few 100,000 people have done, and it's pretty great watching. I got the chance to take part of it, and I also watched the whole thing, so it's kind of neat to see from both of those perspectives. But right after we got back to Boston, so the winner of that contest was the 2025 Porsche Taycan. And so what do you do when you get to when that kind of a car to the East Coast? You want to take it back across country again, and that's what you did. You wanted to go the next day, basically. We just did this whole 3 days, no sleeping, basically. Get back, sleep for, I don't know, not even a full night's sleep, and you're ready to go back across country again. But the cooler heads prevailed and made you wait like an extra day. And then so you did another Cannonball in the Porsche Taycan. It's 2025, right? That car.
Yes.
Right. What a monster.
Yes.
So tell us how that went. You set a record again.
Yeah. So the point of this wasn't really to just go and break the record, which a couple friends of ours, Ryan Levinson and Josh Allen, hold in a Model S. Obviously, we wanted to go see what time we could set, but it wasn't like if we were thinking we would just break the record by a little bit, we wouldn't do it. But the new Taycan, the point of the EV Cannonballs from my perspective is to showcase the improvement of technology of vehicles, not to say, look how fast we drove across the country. And so I really, think we all saw a step change, another level of road trip performance with the new Taycan that was clearly almost matching combustion speeds, really amazing. And so we decided, okay, well, we already have the car on the East Coast. We need to get the car to at least back to Colorado, but it's not that much farther to get it back to LA. And we're like, well, let's just go run this thing. And so we, did the thing, washed the car, set the pressures, charged it up to 100, and left from the Red Ball. And we achieved our goal of getting under 40 hours across the country. For the last 6 years, maybe more, electric Cannonball records have all been in that 40-hour range. And they started coming down a bit. It was 45 hours, then 44, then 42 in a bit. And we're like, we really want to be under 40. We want a 30-something hour time, because this is now, basically significantly beating Google Maps estimation across the country. And it's a cool thing to showcase the car's capabilities. But beyond that, it shows, okay, electric cars are entering this new era of really amazing road tripping performance. And we were able to go, on the standard route in 39 hours, 29 minutes. And that was with a ton of traffic. I mean, there's always time left on the table whenever you do these things. And,
right.
We've documented it. So I really hope it gets broken again soon. We always say that whenever we Cannonball, this is our last Cannonball, but this really is our last Cannonball. I think we all feel pretty good about getting it into this new era of the 30s. And I'm not sure I want to be the one getting it into the new era of the 20-hour runs.
That would involve some super high speeds, right?
An eVTOL.
Yeah, exactly. We'll leave it to people crazier than us to do that. But that's not to say we drove slow, but we also had a lot of traffic and certainly pushed hard.
Did you take the more southern route this time?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, we tried that last time. Really didn't work for us.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the other way around. Okay.
No, northern route's the jam. Yeah.
So So how was the infrastructure compared to the previous ones? A huge difference or just like minor?
No, massive, almost nearly perfect. Yeah, almost
Sweet.
nearly perfect. I mean, not. I think we had a couple that we had to move, but for the most part, other than maybe sharing with some other cars at a couple spots, we had over 300 kilowatts at 90% of the stops that we did.
That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, and we used exclusively Electrify America, not necessarily by choice, but they just have a great network built out of locations. And now finally, like, reliability has gotten so much better, something we noticed during the surge as well.
Mhm.
And I've just been having a much easier time road tripping with CCS just as we're transitioning to NACS. And I'm like, but at least they'll put NACS chargers on too. So it's like great to have actual competition in the charging space. It can't just be Tesla. They've proven that they can build an incredible network with a massive amount of stations. But there are occasional bugs, and I think competition keeps everyone honest. It keeps everyone working for the customer to try and earn their business. And I think EA is actually finally getting to the point where, I wouldn't say totally there yet, but they're getting into that supercharger competition level here pretty soon. They're getting much better.
And they have to, because now that the other OEMs are having access to the superchargers, if their service didn't improve, if the customer experience maintained as poor as it had been for a while, people would just stop going there. And so that they really, this transition to NACS, I think, has helped in a bunch of ways, and it's going to force the networks that maybe had been underperforming to perform better, because if they don't, they'll just be left behind. People won't use them, and the networks will just go bankrupt. So it's helping in a lot of ways, I think, this transition to the J3400 plug.
I've seen an incredible improvement over the last year. I was on a program for what I do for my career is automotive education program. So I work with automakers to educate their employees, their dealer partners, a lot of people. And I had a project in Nashville, and I was working, it was a long contract. It was probably about 10, 12 months. It was a long period that I was driving from Michigan to Nashville pretty regularly. And I noticed over that contract, like, the amount of NEVI stations that got put in was incredible and very impressive, especially at the end of the contract. And now what I'm seeing, which is the concern for me, is the cost. So a lot of these NEVI stations that are getting put in, at least from my experience from this trek that I've continuously made, and I went down to Florida a couple times too, so it's been a lot of road tripping, is that these NEVI stations are getting put in, and of course they're getting a lot of funds to do that, to get reimbursed for them. And a lot of them are very expensive. They're like 60 cents per kilowatt hour. And it's really exciting that now everyone's getting NACS adapters, because now I'm instead of having just like one choice for a charging stop, now I have so many other choices. And I just got my NACS adapter for my truck like last month. So I haven't actually even used it yet, but to have more options so I can pick and choose, not only because a lot of times my route planning would say, oh, I want you to stop at this station and you still have, 150 miles left to reach your, to stop and charge before you get there. And I'm like, no, I want to go until I have like 5 to 10% instead of, way more 20+%. So to have more options because of that, but then also because of the cost thing is really crucial. And actually I stopped in Kentucky and I was almost mad that like I charged there, because I was like, the average cost of electricity here in the state of Kentucky was like 13 cents and the charger was 60 cents per kilowatt hour. And I'm just like, they get this money to put this station in. And mind you, it was 2 dual connector, not 4, because the requirement for NEVI is to have 4 connectors that can deliver at least 150 kilowatts per. So this was a unit that was a 350 kilowatt unit from EVgo, but it had 2 connectors that could simultaneously charge at that rate. So they're getting less as far as the equipment goes that's required to put in the space. So they still have 4 connectors, which is great, but they're also getting a lot of money to get these installed, and then they're price gouging, in my opinion, with 60 cents per kilowatt hour. So
That's a lot.
that's like the main problem
Yeah.
that I have with it right now
Preach it.
is, and Tesla does like fluctuate their pricing depending on the time of day, and I like that. But like, I mean, no one was at that charger when I was there, but I don't know how much use it's getting, but more stations is going to be better to make sure that the competition actually changes their prices where it's competitive.
And
Right.
the market's going
Yep.
to dictate that, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like people will just not select the places that are high. And as you said, having more and more choices, you know, the way it had been for years was if there was a DC fast charger along your route, you had to stop there because you didn't have choices.
Right.
And now that there's more and different networks coming out and, you know, different types of price plans, you know, I assume you don't have an account with EVgo because
Yeah,
you
I do.
hadn't. You do because
Yeah.
it was still 60 cents with your.
They
your
don't
discount?
dictate the price. That's
Yeah.
the problem. Is Pilot J does
Pilot
where
J
it was
does, yeah.
located. So it's not an EVgo pricing scheme.
Okay.
It's all dependent on the person that hosts the site.
Yeah.
So the only concern that I have there is that they're going to be like, well, this wasn't worth doing because it's going to be no one's charging here. It's like, yeah, because your prices are too high. Like they're going to attribute it that no one wants to, you know, they're not buying EVs, they're not doing, and it's the wrong message because it's actually just that you're price gouging.
Yeah, that's
Right.
That's
And which is why I also like having a bigger, more range, maybe not necessarily a bigger battery, because then I can charge at home and get a lot further on my charge from my, 13 cents per kilowatt hour versus going to a DC fast charger and spending still lower than gas usually, but closer to what gas prices are.
Anthony C says Martin would laugh at us Americans complaining about 60 cents a kilowatt hour, and he would. But then again, gas or petrol, as they call it there, is a lot more expensive than it is here. So they can get away with higher electricity prices as well, I guess, because it's still cheaper, right? All right. Hey, so we talk about a lot of very expensive electric cars here on the channel, on the podcast, and we tend to quite a bit actually. But there are also some super cheap ones out there that can be found on the used market. And Kyle, you just put out a video highlighting what you think are the best 5 that you can get for under $5,000. Are these really the best, or are these just the 5 that you happen to own? And also, is Coda on that list?
No, Coda's not on the list because I would not recommend getting that car. Actually, I only recommended 2 of the cars that I own, which would be the Leaf, because they're incredibly popular. And you got to find one with the least amount of degradation, of course. And thankfully, there is a gauge to show you that roughly. And so, yeah, we showed the Leaf. I recommended against going with some of those niche, weird electric cars like the B-Class or some of these compliance cars, maybe RAV4 EV, stuff like that. Those are typically more money, though. And, finding one that's broken, because they're almost impossible to repair without very specialized equipment and knowledge. And so they'll just turn into bricks. So I recommended against that. And then I also showed that you can get an e-Golf, which typically trades for over $5,000. But I bought mine for $3,000, and it was totally beat from a mechanical standpoint. And it required just realistically $1,500 worth of, sort of suspension components, which is not any different.
That's not bad.
Than normal Golf. And, I went a bit overboard and we wrapped it and we did some other stuff, but that I'm still into that car for less than $6,000, and I went overboard with it. And it's, a high mileage car, 127,000 miles on a 20 kilowatt hour battery pack is the equivalent to like 600,000 or 700,000 miles. I have to do the math on like an ID4. So it really shows how cycle life, these things are just lasting a really long time, which was part of the reason I wanted to buy that car. And so, I really think for most people, the recommendation is for under $5,000, we're not talking a lot of money, go for a Leaf. They're known quantities. They're reliable. They are, the only problem is the degradation. So you just try and find one with the most amount of battery capacity remaining, and you'll just have a fine A to B city commuter. It can charge up on a regular wall outlet overnight, doesn't require any special upgrades to your house, and you're good to rock and roll there.
I was looking around last night. I found one it was $4,400 out the door with all the taxes and all the stuff. everything, and it had like 37,000 miles on it. It was like
Yeah,
kind of a
mileage-
standout deal.
Yeah. And so the big, I guess, warning of this video, and to anyone shopping for a used EV under $25,000, is the shady practices around the tax credit. It's like this tax credit is causing more issues for people than anything else you can imagine. There are so many listings that say the price of the car, and then in the little fine print, or maybe it doesn't say it at all, it says tax credit is applied to the price. And so in general, dealers are using it to their advantage as a large whole. You have to fight with the dealer to get the price for the vehicle without the tax credit, and then add in the tax credit and make sure that they pass that savings on to you as the consumer. And especially in these low dollar cars that a traditional reputable dealership is not wasting their time retailing a $5,000 Leaf. These are going to be found on the sketchy used car dealers, to be totally honest.
I mean,
the sort of the buy here, pay here, the over 10% interest rate type of dealers, they're just going to screw everyone over. And so that was the big cautionary tale here is understand going into this, the used credit, the limitations, and what, what that entails. The other recommendation I had in this video was, certainly there's a group of people that are, maybe trying to get back on their feet or whatever the situation might be, where they may not qualify from a credit perspective to lease a car. But there are some incredibly cheap lease deals out there, especially coming into the end of the year, that like we leased our Nissan Leaf for $20 a month with $500 out of pocket. And so your total 2-year ownership cost on that is very low, and definitely protects you from the downside of having to maintain or repair if something went wrong with one of these cars. So it doesn't work for everyone, but I thought if you just need cheap transportation, doing one of those, find the cheapest lease on an electric car you can, really can work out.
Right on. So what were you I didn't see is there an IMEV on your list?
Sorry, which one?
IMEV, Mitsubishi IMEV?
Yeah, that's on there.
Okay.
But I recommended against it a bit because they do have fairly reliability problems.
Really?
With most of these cars, onboard chargers, some battery module failures. Of course, if you produce enough cars, things will fail. So there's known problems with all of them. The reason I'm so comfortable recommending the Leaf out of anything else is just because they built so many of them, and they're so generally reliable that the problems that do exist, there's common knowledge on how to fix them. And you can usually find the shop to research and fix it. If you have an IMEV, if you have a B-Class, if you have an E-Golf or something like these, very low volume cars, maybe even a Spark, to be honest, and something fails, there's not that large knowledge base out there to get you down the road.
Right. You have to go visit our friend Alex.
Yeah, you'd have to go to Wattworks, and I mentioned the best EV repair shops that I know of in this video as well.
Cool. And sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I didn't see the video, Kyle. Did you talk about i3s?
i3s are not under $5,000
under
yet.
5,000.
Oh, under 5,000. I thought they were just cheap. Yeah.
Yeah.
A friend of mine just got one here for $9,500. It was a 2016, and it was the 2016 and a half, the one with the bigger battery.
Nice.
For under 10,000 with like 49,000 miles on it or so. Steel, as far as I'm concerned, with the professional nav system, the big the widescreen nav system for under 10 grand. That's awesome as far as I'm concerned. And he said he still gets, he's getting 100 miles in the cold weather now with it. So
did it come from a dealer? Did he get the tax credit?
I didn't really ask him about that. I assume he would have, because it would have qualified for it.
So then it really was a $15,000 i3.
He paid $9,500 is what he paid out of pocket.
So to me, that seems almost let's say a 13,000, because what is the tax rate? $4,000, 4,500
on used. Yeah,
four used.
Up to 4. So 13,500 still for under 50,000 miles. Looks awesome, excellent condition. Everything's beautiful with the professional nav, the Mega interior, or not Mega. What was it? The the Terra interior, which was the top of the line. This was a $50,000 car when it went on sale originally, but Under 10 grand, even with the tax credit for an i3, with not the original battery pack, but with the middle one or the new one, I think still's a good deal. I told him that sounds good to me.
Yeah,
Even
so
if it was-
we'll do a video on the under $10,000 category coming up soon. But yes, I really think you can get a second car. Even people that are just curious about electric cars, the very little risk to go, have a city commuter, keep it in the driveway on a 110, take it to go to the restaurant, to work, to whatever, and keep your combustion car. If you're worried about range, just get a cheap little extra electric car to try it out. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean that worked for me for 2 years around Tallahassee, like 40 miles. I mean, most days I only did like 40 miles or less. Usually a lot less, and yeah, it was a breeze. 110 outlet, plug it in, no problems. All right. Hey, we were talking a lot about charging networks a little while ago, and Tom, you got to check out a new one this week. I'm not sure what can you tell it? You don't have a video on this yet, but I believe one's coming.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I'm going to probably put it up this weekend, or actually, I think they asked me to hold it off till Tuesday because some of the things they talked about they haven't released yet. But I went down to visit Ionna down in North Carolina and sat with the CEO Seth Cutler and the CPO Ricardo Stamati, and checked out their Apex facility, which is full construction site right now. They're doing all kind of validation testing. That's Brendan Flash's Model Y there that I charged up for a little bit. I was checking out the J3400 connectors. All the stations are up and running now. They're not open to the public though. All the manufacturers are bringing cars down there to do validation testing. GM had some cars there. BMW had some cars there. And then I sat down with the guys for a half an hour interview and talk to them about like the company's mission, or why they're calling their sites rechargeries instead of charging stations. They're basically how they see their path to success is. It's really the first time that they've publicly spoke about this, where the first good long interview of the company where they talked about their vision and what they're trying to do. And it was good. The guys were brutally honest and admitted that they don't have all the answers. It's just that it's kind of like a work in progress. They're trying to make a better charging network. I asked them a lot about, is this going to be an issue that you've got like 8 bosses or 8 different companies telling you do this and another company's telling you do this, which is, I think a lot of people were concerned about when we first heard that this was happening. And, they did admit that, they have 8 partners and everybody has a seat at the table and everybody has opinions and so forth. But that they feel that that's a strength, not a weakness, that they're going to get a lot of different ideas from a lot of different people. But ultimately they're leading the charge there and they're calling all the shots. So I just thought it was interesting that, Volkswagen was forced to make Electrify America. NRG was forced to start EVgo. The two biggest networks that are out there now, other than Tesla, let's put Tesla in their own bucket. They deserve to be in their own bucket. Were born out of court rulings and scandals, and so if that's like how you were born, it's almost a surprise that you would succeed. But here we have the first time we have OEMs other than Tesla, saying, look, we need to make this work because these are our customers. We need to have a good charging experience for our customers. So I like that it's coming from that rather than, we've been forced to do it, so let's make the best of it. It's interesting to me to see this unfold, and we're going to be paying a close attention to Ionna because I have high hopes that coming a little bit late as they are into this field, they have the advantage of seeing where everybody made mistakes and seeing what people did well, and say, well, obviously I'm sure they took a real close look at how Tesla did supercharger network. And as far as like locations, like they brought up the point, like you're not going to find Ionna chargers in the back of some parking lot of some supermarket that's not lit at night. Like that just won't happen. Even if it's a location that we need strategically, we won't do it. because we don't want our customers, in the back of some dark parking lot in the middle of the night, or off of a highway where they don't feel safe. So, we went into stuff like that, site acquisition. And I also talked to their chief technology officer about, the fact that they're using alpatronic chargers and power sharing and so forth and so on. So yeah, I should have that video up this weekend. And then there's going to be a lot of information coming out soon with Ionna. They've been in stealth mode since they announced in February, but I think you guys can expect to see a lot happening now in the next within a month even. You're gonna hear a lot of information, I think, on the company.
So actually, I think I can say it. We're going to do, so I was just with them too, Tom. I went over not long ago to go check out that site. We're going to do, and we haven't totally announced it or like solidified this, but it sounds like we're going to do an out of spec Cars and Coffee at the launch of this site. So we're going to have like a bunch of our viewers come with, warm batteries and dead batteries, Hummer EV Owners Club, bring it on. And we're going to try and max out the site for like a full day and just stress test the hell out of it, which will be really fun.
So, Kyle, let's talk off the air, because I don't know what they want to talk about this, about dates, because there's 2 different dates that they have, that I have bookmarked. And I'm probably going to go to both of them. And I think one of them is the date that you're talking about. I might drive down. So,
I don't know what the date is. I totally, Alyssa's been handling it because she does all the brand partnership stuff, but I'm so excited about it. So we'll figure it out.
We'll talk off camera on that though, because I think I'm going to actually drive down with the Lightning and show up dead. And that would be cool if, you have other people there too. So we'll chat about that. But
where is this?
Apex, North Carolina. That's good. That's their first.
It's basically south of Raleigh.
Yeah. It's what you saw in the video, Dom, and they converted an old gas station, one of the oldest gas stations in the state, I think.
Okay.
And and that's why they did it to it's like their example site. Now, all their sites aren't going to have amenities like that, like a structure with a lounge, bathrooms, but all their sites will have those amenities. Maybe it'll be another company doing like a Starbucks or something, but they are going to have a number of these rechargeries where they actually, operate the site. They have a building with Wi-Fi. They even have private little rooms that you can book through your Ionna app. Like if you need to have a meeting or a Zoom meeting along your route, you plug your car in, you go in, you book the room, you flip open your laptop, you have a little meeting while your car's charging, and they have always local vendors providing food there. So it's not going to just be like a Starbucks that sells coffee and pastries and stuff. They're going to actually have they're going to find local unique businesses that are going to manage the food for that site. So everywhere you go, the different Ionna Rechargeries that have these amenities, you'll be able to eat like the food of that area. Cool,
nice.
Cool concept.
Yeah, that all sounds really good. But what's the approximate dates that it might be opening?
I don't think we can say.
Roughly.
I don't think we can say.
Okay, sometime in 2025.
No, 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But not full grand opening, soft opening.
Right. Soft
full
opening.
Grand opening is early 2025.
Yeah, they got a ways to go.
Okay. I was just trying to weighing whether or not I could make that trip myself, because that'd be kind of cool if you guys are all going to be there. I should probably. It's not that far, right?
Go. Bring your car up. You won't be able to charge there though, because you haven't done CCS retrofit.
I have not done the CCS thing, but whatever. I don't need the charger. I just want to see it.
Yeah.
Is it going to have Is it going to have solar over that awning?
No.
Oh, okay. It's going to have a hard roof of some kind, though.
Yes.
Wait for the videos.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. So, Tom, this week you also put a video featuring your analysis of the Silverado EV charging. So, loyal viewers may remember that you previously did a 10 to 80% session with the Silverado EV, but this time it's a 0 to 100%. And so you also compared the two charging sessions. So, I don't know. I guess tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you summed it up right there. I did the
Oh,
10 to 80, I don't know, a month or so ago, and now I did the 0 to 100, recorded that, showed that first, and then midway through the video is the screen that you're seeing if you're on YouTube here. I just compared the 10 to 80 to the 0 to 100. Very similar charging curves, almost identical, to be honest with you. So I think I pretty much got the program charging curve. And these weren't the only two I did. I had other recordings, but there was no need to put them up because they were basically the same. I did another recording on an Electrify America charger, and I mean, within a minute or so, everything was the same. At least the truck that I had and the software that I was running, I seem to have nailed pretty darn close to what it would be. And basically, for the first 20-25 minutes, the thing charges like an animal. And but then it drops off quite a bit. I think it's balancing the voltage between the two packs that it has, and then recovers for a little while. But the Silverado is just an animal charging. I mean, it holds 350 for a while, and then has a little bit of a dip, and then holds 300 for a while. Right to that point there. If you're on YouTube, you could see they're up to like 35%, but then it has quite a bit of a drop. And this was the 4 different charging sessions that I did. It did this pretty consistently after a certain time period. So I'm pretty sure it's programmed in. And I did notice, what was his name? Ryan, Kyle, that did the analysis for you on out of spec. There on your charging session, the vehicle shut off, or the charger shut off after 10 minutes. So then he plugged back in, and he got another 20 minutes. It seemed like almost 20 minutes of a high charging rate. So, it leads me to.
So I haven't seen. Did that video go up recently, or was this an older one that he evaluated?
I think it was an older one. I didn't see the.
So we just did all the new stuff because the software changed since then. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you get that boost again, if I remember correctly. But we do have a different curve than you have slightly. So I'm not sure.
Only 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, ours same. I think we had them at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's the hard thing
with
charging these things. Yeah. And on ours we did it. Yeah. So there's definitely a time-based boost period with all GM stuff, and so it basically has similar characteristics to Equinox. The problem is that I don't think this dip is time or voltage matching or anything like that, because the packs are wired in series, so they can't change they're basically locked at the same. I'm fairly certain it's temperature. I think something gets hot, because I went to do a theoretical peak charging curve on these things, and it took like 50 different plug-in sections to hold maximum power. I'd have to go let it cool down, plug it back in, boom, back to full power, and it would just keep doing this. And I don't know the exact number. It wasn't 50, but let's say 15 realistically. Yeah. And it was it was tough.
Yeah, well, every time I charged it, pretty much, and it was 4 different sessions, after that certain period of time, not necessarily state of charge, certain period of time, boom, it dropped off a cliff. So you got a solid 20 minutes, sometimes as much as 23 or 24 minutes of really high rate, 300 plus kilowatt, which is just pumping it in. And then I produced this, if you're watching on YouTube, this kind of like master chart here that shows you basically in 10% state of charge sessions, 10% blocks. Like you could look and see, well, how long does it take to go from 40% to 60%, or from 30% to 80%? Wow. And this is something that I've had people tell me that they download, they take screenshots and download it and just keep it as like kind of a reference. It basically tells you, if your battery is warm, if it's at the right temperature, how long it'll take on a 350 kilowatt station to get from any point A to any point B.
That's a pile of data there.
It's a lot of work.
That's really, really cool. Actually, I have to take some time to soak in this type of chart, but we may want to copy
that.
It's right? a lot of work, but
there's so much information here.
Every block tells you like how many minutes it takes to charge from that point A to point B, how many kilowatt hour gets added, what the average power in that block is, the average power that you take in, and then also it's color coded based on what percentage of the full charging rate. So you can tell everything on the top is that light green, because that's at least 80% of its full charging rate. And then we go down to the darker green, and that's 60 to 70%, or 60 to 80% of the full charging rate. So you want to be more green. So you could look at this and you see those green blocks. You're like, that's where I want to charge in there, because I'm getting the most miles per minute. In that green section of charging, you're adding 10 miles for every minute you charge the Silverado EV. And now, of course, that depends on driving conditions and all that stuff and everything. But at 70 miles an hour, that's 10 miles a minute. And 10 miles a minute is actually fantastic for an electric vehicle. Very few electric vehicles average that. And don't forget, this is a 9,000-pound truck. You know, so you would think its efficiency, its miles per minute added would be terrible. It gets terrible once you get into the beige and orange boxes. But those green boxes, you're nailing 10 miles for every minute of charging, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know if we posted our 10% challenge video, but it did really well in the road trip simulation.
Yeah, and it would, and that shows, because compare it to the other EVs, you know, charging power, as Kyle and I talk about a lot when we do charging deep dives, you can't look at, oh, this charger's at 300 kilowatts or 270 kilowatts. How long does it hold it? And also, how efficient is the car? And that's the beauty of Kyle's 10% challenge. It's not just how good the car can charge. Well, what can the car do with that energy? That's super important, which gets overlooked a lot by a lot of people. And that's why I love that 10% challenge that you do. I'm kind of trying to put it on paper, because I'm not going to go do a 10% challenge, but I'm going to put that on paper so people can look. I talk miles per minute, because basically the same as what you're doing. A 10% challenge is how many miles per minute of charging. And I think it's really useful, and I think it helps people understand their car, you know, if they take the time to understand the graph, because there's a lot of stuff going on there.
All right. So we should probably get some news before we run out of time. So
I just want to look at that chart. That chart is amazing. I got to get a printout of that and put it on my wall. That's awesome.
I have it on, I've already done that for 3 or 4 cars. And now I'm going to actually backtrack and produce it for the other cars. And they'll all be available to download on my website, evchargingstations.com. There's going to be an icon where you can click on charts and graphs and download and print them.
Wow. That's awesome, Tom. That's a public service right there. Yeah. So really quickly, we should mention that, because it's in the title, that Nissan is gaining access to the supercharger network next week. So if you, but you know that it's only good for the Nissan Ariya.
Wait, didn't they already have access, Lacey?
They retracted it. They retracted it. They were like, yeah, it was, but it wasn't really, because Tesla had posted on their website that they were on the list, and then they like pulled it.
In the app.
They were like, oh, just kidding.
yeah, they took it out.
Yeah.
But it worked in the app.
But
So,
then,
like, with the third-party adapter, you could go charge an Ariya a couple, week or two ago.
But you needed a third-party adapter
for a day.
You couldn't use the official Tesla
one.
You could.
You could if you just had if you had one. They can't recognize what adapter you're using.
It
doesn't help if it doesn't exist.
Kyle, I'm surprised you don't know this. I'm surprised you don't know this.
Tom, hold on 1 second. If I had used my Rivian adapter with the Ariya, it would have worked.
Nope.
Yeah, really?
Why?
Why would?
Because the way the Ariya's charge port is designed, there's a hole where the official Tesla adapter slides in and needs to push in. So the Tesla adapter slides in, and instead of locking, it just goes like this in, and it won't charge. Only A to Z Electron third-party adapters will charge the Nissan Ariya. The official one won't charge it.
Are you sure?
And I think this is why it won't work. And I
thought it just didn't latch.
It won't work. And see, there's people saying Tom's correct. So
wow.
I think this is
Thanks for. I was going to waste 2 hours to go film this video a couple weeks ago. Good thing I didn't.
But I'm going to tell you how you can make it work. So I think this is why Tesla said, it's open, and then Nissan's like, oh, wait a minute, it's not open, because when you buy the official adapter now through Nissan, and I actually have one here, it comes with a little plastic. I don't know where it is. I should have had it ready. It comes with a little plastic tab that you have to slide into the Aria's charge port. Now you could
So
take a
weird.
piece of tape and put over it temporarily, because the Tesla, I should get the adapters while I'm here to show you. The Tesla adapter it'll push the adapter in and it'll be able to lock. So now if you order the adapter from Nissan, you get the adapter and you get this little plastic tab that you have to push into your Aria's charge port and leave it in there. Like it clogs a hole. I wonder
It sounds not very elegant, you know?
Well, it just
Yeah,
sounds like electric cars are so great, guys.
You've got
Oh, man.
you've got to clog that hole on the Aria, or the official adapter won't work. But if you had an A to Z or Electron or some of the other ones, it would work, because they're designed differently. They don't have that little tab that goes in. They lock differently than the Tesla adapter does. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm actually planning on doing a video on it today. I just got the adapter yesterday, and I haven't had time, and I don't have an Aria here to do, so I'm going to just kind of do a demonstration and show you what it would look like with pictures and stuff. But I'm going to actually put that video out. I might produce it today and put it out. Be like, Aria owners, beware. You can't use somebody else's official Tesla adapter unless you clog this hole.
So, okay, help me understand this. So, I saw the thing because we did a podcast on this yesterday that you need the thing to interface. I didn't know it physically wouldn't work. So, what happens if you just push the adapter in?
I think
Because you just need the surfaces to mate, and it's on the DC side, right? So, can you help me understand where it's latching?
So I haven't physically done it. This is just what I got from talking to somebody off the record at Nissan, that this thing's required. So I have it, but I haven't actually done it yet. I think that there's a tab in the on the matter of fact, Dom, pull up, go to YouTube and pull up Nissan Aria NACS adapter. Nissan last night put out a little video on how it works and why you need it.
Lacey, have you
actually
charged
show
an
it.
Aria yet on superchargers?
I've only charged on Magic Dock.
So it worked on Magic Dock?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Then
I
it's
charged
wide
so
open.
much on Magic Dock because it was like super convenient for me. I was on a program with them with an Aria for like several
Which is
months, and
weird.
I took it all over. This was a while ago. I think it was last year. Or
So why
year
wouldn't the
before?
adapter work?
So watch this video.
It's the same.
Right. So he's got the DAX
See
adapter.
that little
There's-
plastic tab there?
oh.
Mhm.
Yes,
Watch
I
what
knew
they do
about
with it.
this.
Oh. It's a little weirdly shaped piece of
Yeah.
plastic too.
You slide it into your charge port. That right there. See where it's
Oh.
highlighted? Because that's where the adapter locks.
What?
See if we can
Adapter
back it up
lock-
to that
no,
spot
No,
again.
there's a tab. There's a tab in there. I think that shows that it's mating. Watch the slow motion on the video.
Okay.
Let's see, actually, let me do this slow playback speed.
And in the meantime, I'm going to see if I can find my adapter.
So there's
So
a
it's-
pin in the adapter, and it needs the plugged hole, so the pin will get pushed in, and the adapter will work. The average EV said. How about that? So why does the Magic Dock work and the adapter doesn't?
So
Because
there's,
the Magic Dock's just an adapter. I don't get it.
yeah, I don't know. I need to have everything. It's maybe if Tom gets the two pieces, it'll make sense.
Man, I
because
wish I ran into this last week because I literally had an Aria for a week sitting at the office and I never had a chance to get to it. And I had the
no.
adapter and the app was opened up where you could activate the stations. And I had Lacey's car and I was like, oh, I'm going to go try this out.
So
You
this
have
is a good
my
time to.
No, not your car, our Lacey.
Oh.
There's another Lacey. There's
Yeah.
more than one Lacey in this country, and it's crazy.
Well, I'm like, it's possible. My car that I used, you could
Yeah,
have it.
no,
So
it
I was
wasn't
like,
No,
But it should say if you do need an adapter, you can, if you have an area, you can go to your Nissan dealer and order one there for $235, or you can go to nissanusa.com and order one there, and yeah,
Hey, no,
$235.
I can't. I don't have it here. That's just what I was told, that has to be inserted or it won't
I don't
work.
get that.
I don't get it either. To be honest
Okay.
with you, that's why I'm going to play with it today.
Dumbest thing I've ever heard all year. Gosh.
Because nothing goes in. Now that I'm actually looking at it, nothing really goes in there.
Right. Yeah,
Now
I don't
I'm
know.
even confused. I picked it all up yesterday with the tab and everything, and I have to figure it out. I wish I had an Aria here.
So, well, I guess we can talk about this next week. We'll get this mystery cleared up, and we can talk about it next week.
Aria today and go try this out.
But they're saying,
right.
I mean, I can't, looking at it again now, because I looked at it really quickly yesterday, and I was just told you need to insert this in order for it to work. But looking at it all now, I'm trying to figure out, is it, I don't know.
The only thing that I can think of from when I had the Aria, and I don't even know how this could be related to this, but there were some problems with the connectors locking into the charge port, and the way to get it out was you had to go through the sequence of like unlock, lock, unlock, lock, unlock, like 3 times in order for it to disconnect. So I wonder if that's something to do with that process, or you had to go under the hood and pull the manual release for the charge port, for the connector to release from the charge port. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that it has something to do with that, but I don't even know.
I just want to know, will it physically not charge? Has anyone attempted to use the adapter without putting this thing in?
Yeah.
Because everyone just said, it won't charge at all. But are we sure?
Nobody's tested it yet, because that's what we were told, Kyle. So you assume what you're told is correct.
No, assume automakers
or what you read.
Nothing, always.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to try it out.
Electric that published it, and then they were like, wait a second, no, just kidding. And I actually talked to some of the people on the Nissan team, and they were asking about that. And I was like, well, apparently they're taking it back. I mean, it obviously was supposed to come before the end of the year, so it's time-wise, it's going to happen. But yeah, I was told it, yeah.
I've asked Nissan to clarify this. I sent them an email like 4 days ago and said, I need some clarification about the NACS adapters and everything, and they haven't responded yet.
Do you have a NACS adapter on you, Tom?
I don't have my Tesla one. I loaned it to a friend recently. I have the A to Z and the other ones, which evidently didn't need that. Like they were saying that just the official Tesla one did, and I can't understand why, because the interface is the same. It must be the Nissan. Is there on the Aria? Is there some type of a tab that goes down there that knows that there's an adapter in there that needs to be depressed to be used?
I'm going to Nissan today. I'm going to use that. I'm going to go to the Magic Dock site with an Aria. I'm going to use my official Tesla adapter and see if it works. And because I can activate the station and just use my own adapter at a Magic Dock site. It should work.
There has to be a reason for them. Well, they wouldn't have made this dumb.
I thought it was to me, it looked like a stability thing, so that you could align the adapter just to give a little bit more strength to the tabs. So I thought it was like a adding strength to that area, because if you look at that, there's nothing in the. I mean, we might be wrong. People are saying, or they've stopped commenting now, but some people were saying that there's a little latch in the official Tesla adapter that's different than the Magic Dock. That would be news to me, and it's possible. It's totally possible. But I just can't understand why it wouldn't work.
Hold on. I think I have another one that I forgot I have here.
Let's look. Here we go.
Investigations.
Right. Tom's got all the toys there. I can't believe he doesn't have several Tesla adapters within reach. And you so you don't have adapters yourself, Lacey?
I do, but I don't want to go downstairs and outside in the snow.
Right. I hear you.
Of course, Mr. Adapter has the adapters.
I have so many of these things now, I forget where they are. and I loaned 2 of them out to people. There is it. Yes.
Here we go.
Let me see. There's a tab. I'm trying to get. Can you see that tab there?
I kind of see it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a little safety tab. Look at that.
Safety tab. And when I push it, it actually does depress.
So it's some sort of interlock. That's neat.
See, it won't work without. It's not just for looks or stability. It won't. You need that stupid thing, but you don't.
Because it's not long enough.
And now hold on. Let me get the other ones while I'm here.
Of course.
Because they're trying to standardize the adapter, but then their port must be like a longer port in order to plug it in. But I don't understand. Like you said, then why would that affect the Magic Dock? Why wouldn't that
Well, so
affect
it's
that?
on the adapter side. It's whether the adapter will let it go. So if the adapter doesn't have that plunger, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So the Electron doesn't have it, and neither
Right.
does the A to Z Typhoon Pro.
So it's a
So-
safety item that the
Blocking.
Tesla adapter has to make sure that you're fully interfaced on the DC pins, which is so smart.
Mm-hmm.
How about
You'd think
that?
they would, huh? I'm kind of surprised that the other ones don't have, but the other ones will still work.
Yeah,
Right.
the other ones will work without the plastic thing. With or without it, they'll work.
But
So
the
it's a
Nissan
safety
one,
item. I think this
So
is
if
smart.
you-
Just make sure that you're fully interfaced and you're not going to get arcing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if
Sure.
the top is latched, you're going to be fully interfaced.
I mean,
Yeah.
Tom, when you're latched, you can pull up a bit, and as there's those broken rings on charge ports sometimes. I think that's a smart idea to make sure you're fully put in. I had no idea that was in the Tesla
Yep,
adapter.
It's in there, so you need
So
it.
Magic Docks must not have that.
yeah,
It must
I guess.
not, because Lacey's charged, on it.
Many,
so
many times. Like
Yeah,
it
they
wasn't
must
just
not have
once
that.
either. Yeah.
It must not have that. Yeah, there
All
it
right.
is.
Cool.
Well-
No, we just figured it out. That is amazing.
All right. Well, I think I'm still going to need a video to kind of straighten this all out in my mind.
I'm
I
making
need
one
this-
today for sure,
Thank you, sir.
because I have
Uh,
I have the Nissan one, so with that
So-
little tab thing.
So we're a little bit over time, but like the automotive world is kind of falling apart, and it's kind of in the title. So I thought we should probably just mention at least real quick before we get out of here. This week it seemed like half of the major automakers in the world had some super dire headlines. So Stellantis, that's kind of one. Well, I was going to say that's the big one, but it's not necessarily the big one, but it's a pretty big one because it's 14 brands, including Ram and Chrysler and Dodge and Jeep here in the U.S. So,
Top four.
sorry.
Top four automaker.
Right. So the CEO, Carlos Tavares, quit that job after 4 years in the position. The automaker Stellantis was expecting him to leave. It was in the process of finding a replacement, but only for early 2026. So this was not really planned out. Really, I think there was some friction. I think I read something where there, I think it was an interaction with one of the board members. I think that finally kind of sealed the deal. There was like whatever. It wasn't a great relationship between. It's really hard running the automaker. You have your board above you. You have unions to deal with. Yeah, there's just a lot of moving pieces. And he did really well for the first couple of years in this position. He really he cut costs a lot. Made Stellantis a ton of money. Their stock went high, and then up until like March of this year, and then the stock like fell off a cliff, and they've been having a ton of problems since. And a lot of the criticism is around just cutting to the bone everything, and then having equality issues here in the U.S. And I guess sales issues, and I guess EVs kind of play into this somewhat. Yeah, I don't know. Lacey, do you have any insight into how EVs play into this?
Well, the problem is a lot of these automakers now have to make these huge decisions, and the regulations versus where they're at in all the global markets are putting them in a really tough position. And, just a few years back in 2021 is when they merged with PSA, and Tavares comes from that world and the European world. And I think that from what I read, I think he was trying to be a little bit more like force more of the cost cutting and go to decisions that I think basically my interpretation is that the board is very traditional automaker, whereas he was, I'm not saying he's not, because there's still a lot about him that is traditional automaker, but I think he's seeing the writing on the wall where he's like, not only do we have to cut more, like this is dire conditions where we have to really make some big sweeping changes. And they were like, well, we're ruining a lot of reputation and a lot of relationships that we have amongst union and dealers and all this. And he kind of like, I wouldn't say necessarily fully abandoned the US market, but it kind of feels like that because there's not a lot of innovation in their product. And there's a lot of competition that people in the segments that they compete in, it's like they're continuing to evolve and come out with some really great products. As far as EVs go, they know that they have to compete in Europe, and the regulations are getting stronger and stronger. And he said we shouldn't lobby against these regulations in Europe for EVs. We should just, face it and move forward, like Mercedes and BMW have said, because they know that they weren't succeeding in China. They know that they need to hold on to Europe, but in order to do that and to meet those, you're going to either pay for credits or you need to start making products that follow the regulatory requirements. And no matter what, I don't really understand the people that think that EVs aren't coming or they're not still growing or anything like that. It's like, you need to actually start to make really good EV products for customers, because it's going in this direction. And they have come out with platforms, the STLA Large that we've seen commonly for, the Wagoneer S and other products that are coming out. But the movement is so slow in such a big company like that. And I think initially he was like, okay, I'm going to cut $5 billion with this merger so we can scale appropriately and we can have common parts sharing and stuff like that. But that is a hard task. He got paid a lot to do it. He got paid more than Mary and more than Ford. Ford CEO Farley. So, but I think like with his mentality, I kind of think he's right. Like it's kind of, we see that with Nissan, like you said. Things are starting to get ugly for these car companies. If you think about conquest buyers, a lot of these EV products are conquest buyers coming to a new brand because they're making a new product and their model diversity is expanding. Like the conquest rate is incredible for EVs. People want them. They're leaving their favorite brands, their loyal brands, because they don't have the product that they want.
Right.
So I think it's time to wake up.
Yeah, and just put a bow on the whole thing with all the automakers. Like, so General Motors also struggling, though mostly in China. It had to write down like $5 billion this week, but it's still doing pretty well, relatively speaking, compared to Stellantis. They're expecting to see like more than $10 billion in profits like this year, so they're not so bad. They're in a lot better place than Nissan, which this week we heard like some executives saying maybe they have a year. So we were expecting some big fallout in the electrification, and Nissan has been kind of like number one at the top of that list of concern, because after starting kicking this whole thing off with the Leaf and just failing to continue to develop the EV platform until they brought out this Aria. I guess they had that NV whatever van for a while, but it's still basically a Leaf-based product, not technologically advanced like everything else. Now everybody's really picking up their EV game, especially in China, and those Chinese cars are also competing with Nissan in like Europe and other markets. And so, yeah, a lot of stuff going on this week. I don't know if anyone wants to weigh in on that at all before we head out.
Yeah, feeling the pressure. Everyone's feeling the pressure. The writing's been on the wall, though. Let's, the first major automaker to fail, I think, will kick off a chain reaction.
Oh yeah, it could unsettle markets. It could be like a market deal, right?
Yeah.
Well, consolidation will come too. Yes, that's a lot of assets to have.
I'm not sure you
10 years
assets, though.
It's going to be interesting this next 10 years.
Yeah. Just one thing to go out on, I guess. Let me see if I can pull this. See if I can pull this up. That was not it.
Charger. What is it called? The Dodge Charger electric thing.
Daytona EV.
Daytona EV got the reviews dropped today. By the way, it sounds like.
Oh, really? First drive reviews?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I got some reading or some. Video review? I guess you weren't on that program?
No, we didn't go. We didn't get invited, but I also recently commented that Stellantis should die, so that doesn't seem like a surprise.
Yeah, on my post, you're like, just let them die.
Yeah.
I saw that, actually. Yeah.
So I'll be late to review that one. That's okay.
It's all right. So,
but I just drove that one.
Right. So I just want to mention this real quick. The Lucid Gravity, job one, complete. Yay! Round of applause for the team there at Lucid, and Kyle, you cannot talk about it, I imagine, yet, but you got the chance to drive one. All right, Sam. How long do we have to wait to hear about how that went?
I don't know, few days, not very long.
Okay, so this week. All right, that's so we all have our viewing schedule lined up for the next little bit.
Whatever I signed, it was just on driving impressions. So I spent time with the whole executive team, went through all the technical stuff, went through, batteries and a little bit of charging. And so we actually have 2 videos coming on the Gravity. One is like a 2-hour long podcast that covers everything. And that's actually the one I recommend listening to because it's so much more cohesive, because they really only gave us like a 2-hour time slot that we went over a little bit. So we had to meet with everyone, learn about the car, and then film. And, it just left no time for filming. So our reviews video, in full transparency, will suck. I'm really not happy with how it came out. But the podcast that Jordan and I did afterwards really sums up the whole experience.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching both of those, because this is like a really exciting vehicle to me. It's the vehicle that should make or possibly break Lucid Motors. So yeah, a lot riding on it, and just like this numbers and everything, it's just like they're exciting numbers. Big range, great handling, all those things that that at least looks like in the development videos. You see it off road doing pretty decently for what it is. Anyway, we'll leave that at that.
Can't confirm or deny.
Right. So that's all the news of the week. Formula E kicks off this weekend with all-wheel drive Formula cars this season. So that first race happens, I believe, this Saturday. So if you're into racing at all, or if you haven't been watching, this might be one to watch, actually. To see when the Formula E goes through car generations, there are big changes, and they change the dynamics of the whole thing. So it might be really worth a couple hours watching. So I guess that's the news of the week. That, and Pope Francis has his first electric Pope-mobile.
Oh, it's so sick. I know we got to get out of here, but the electric G Pope-mobile on monoblocks is so baller.
No.
I kind of want it,
I love everything about that. I know nothing about the Pope or any of that stuff, but this
Wait,
is
I thought
Right,
it had
right.
like an overhead thing that like went over top of it.
yeah, it bolts on.
Right, yeah, the
It's
protective.
convertible mode.
Yeah, looks great. Like it would be good, like on safaris or something. Like put a bunch of bench seats in the back of that. You could whatever. It just looks like it could be a lot of fun. Like just that. I think this should be an alternate G-Wagon configuration.
I wonder if he'll use the G turn to address the audience.
That'd be awesome.
Just sit there and spin. It'd be so cool.
Him hold like this as it's smoking the tires and spinning. He's like,
I wonder how much that was to make.
Ooh,
I don't know.
a lot.
Mercedes always I think they just donate. He's always
I
had
think
G-Wagon.
they have a lot of money, as far as I understand.
I think they've been supplying them for like
Catholics.
82 years. I think something like that. I think
They also use I3 police cars at the Vatican.
yeah, all around Vatican. They've been doing that since the i3 first came out. I went there in like 2015 or 16, and they had them there. It was pretty cool.
wow.
Awesome. Yeah. Damn. So
All right.
cool. I mean, if anything, I don't know anything about religion, but now I kind of want to know, now that he drives an electric G. He's got to be onto something.
A custom one.
Yeah.
Right?
He's the only guy who gets a custom electric G. That's pretty cool.
It's a big deal.
All
There's some great jokes in here, but I think that should bring us to the end of our show before we get in trouble. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or get in touch with us on the social media platform of your choice. Lacey, where can people find you real quick?
At my main channel, youtube.com/MissGoElectric, and on Sunday I'll be publishing my 10-minute EV news series called The Current. So join us for that. And then, the industry channel and the e-bike channel are also listed on that main channel too.
All right, I meant to mention that. So you do a weekly news wrap up every week that's called The Current, and people should definitely check that out. And it comes out Sunday, you say?
Yes.
Awesome. That's great. Right. So don't forget, if you like the show, please give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications. Thank you all very much for joining us. Tom, can you say ciao?
Jeez, I got to fill in for you. Ciao.
The accent. All right. Thank you.
Bye, Al.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Let's see if I can do this.